We already know how to build a world without waste. Old clothes can be turned into new fibres, rare metals can be recovered from electronics, and compostable packaging can be made from mycelium or seaweed. Circular business models are emerging too. Bike subscription services, mattress take-back schemes, and even brands like Coca-Cola are developing closed-loop systems for their plastic bottles. The technical solutions for a circular economy already exist, so why isn't it everywhere? The challenge isn't innovation, it's something much harder. To explore what really needs to change, I spoke to 3 Dutch organisations showing how the circular economy can work in practice. I'm Luke, and you're watching The Upshift. I guess a good place to start would be to briefly define what we mean by a circular economy. According to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, a circular economy is one where materials never become waste and nature is regenerated. Materials and products are kept in use for as long as possible through maintenance, reuse, refurbishment, and recycling. Their butterfly model splits material flows in 2. On one side, we have the biological cycle, which encompasses resources like food and timber, which can safely return to nature through biodegrading. On the other side, we have the technical cycle, which is basically things that don't biodegrade, so metals, plastics, polymers, and these must be recovered and fed back into the economy. Today, though, both loops are broken. In the biological cycle, much of the timber, cotton, and food we grow today is transported away from where it grows, leaving croplands dependent on artificial fertilizers and added nutrients. Then, in the technical cycle, materials like plastics are often cheaper to produce from virgin sources than they are to recycle. Instead of keeping these already extracted metals in circulation, we just discard them, driving further extraction. The result is an economy placing a growing strain on both our material resources and our ecological systems. And the problem is also that we're trapped in this system.
So if you look at shoes, we are currently wearing more and more sneakers. And also our leather shoes are of less quality than they were 30 or 40 years ago. And that's because a new production technique is used, which is less strong, but you don't see it from the outside. And as such, you as a consumer see, well, this product costs 200 euros and this product costs 80 euros. I'm going for the 81. The problem is that because of that, they're also more trouble to repair because the shoe repairman says, well, I can repair the front, but then the back will fall apart. So it doesn't make sense to repair. Because of that, more and more shoe repair people are quitting their job. And because there are less places to repair your shoe, they become more expensive. And because they become more expensive, more people are losing their jobs. So what you see there is that we are actually in a system where the shoe quality will become less and less.
You were just listening to Martijn, founder of The Bin, a company committed to reversing the current trends by creating self-reinforcing circular systems that reward quality and reuse. You're going to hear the word systems a lot in this video, and that's because it's really at the systems level where change needs to happen. Circularity only works when the entire value chain collaborates. A fashion brand can design clothes for recycling, for example, but unless textile suppliers, logistics providers, recyclers, and consumers align, those clothes will still end up in landfill. The bin acts as a facilitator to connect companies and supply chain partners. The goal is achieving closed-loop supply chains where one firm's waste becomes another's input, and where material is redirected into the system at the end of product lives. It sounds simple, but it demands absolute cooperation. The bin emphasises making all aspects of the product chain, particularly financial data, as transparent as possible. Not only does a product need to be attractively priced to the consumer, but every player in the supply chain must also still make enough money to be viable. So how does this work?
And what we do is that we state, well, if this product wants to be sold, then the max we can sell it for is 10 euros. If it's more expensive than 10 euros, people are just not going to buy it. So how does the chain need to look? What are the profits that everybody needs to make and the margins in order for this to be a success?
If one player, say the transporter, can't make it financially, then the whole model collapses. And this is where policies like extended producer responsibility come in, which shift some of the take-back and transport costs to the producers. Martijn also mentions that often companies don't even know where their suppliers source materials or what happens to their products at the end of their life. When the entire chain sits at one table, partners discover surprising synergies.
We see is that if we get that chain together, then suddenly they start interacting and say, oh, you're doing that? Oh, but in that case, if I change my process here, then you get way better product. Or really, well, that waste that you have, I would love to have it back. Because for us, it takes so much energy to do that process. So I can simply put it in my engine again.
And so transparency not only drives sustainability, but can also spark unexpected innovation. Large incumbents matter, but so too do startups and entrepreneurs, yet many promising circular ideas struggle to survive. Noorderwind, founded 8 years ago by veterans of the Dutch startup scene, saw that many world-improving technologies weren't getting support. This can be for a variety of reasons, like their founders not fitting the typical startup mold, their innovations needing longer timelines, or the fact that they don't look financially viable by conventional standards. The challenge is that circular business models differ fundamentally from linear ones in how they grow and generate revenue. A bike-as-a-service company like SwapFeets collects revenue through monthly fees, not big upfront sales. And investors used to quick returns see these longer-term cash flows as too late.
So they make enough money. So it's not that they don't make enough money, they make enough money. But they make enough money on the wrong moments for an investor to put their normal linear model on that.
This is Boukje Vastbinder, one of Noorderwind's co-founders. She says that the chances of circular startups securing funding from traditional sources like banks or venture capital or VC are really, really low. Venture capital typically seeks 10 to 100-fold returns and pursue companies with the potential to reach unicorn status. But circular founders are usually actually value-driven and not money-driven, aiming to solve problems rather than chase exponential growth. And pushing them towards such money-orientated goals risks a thing called mission drift, where the original environmental or social goals are watered down. So how do Noorderwind distinguish themselves? Instead of trying to accelerate individual businesses, Noorderwind instead empowers them by connecting them to other businesses and individuals. Instead of trying to create the next billion-euro startup, Noorderwind builds what they call minimum viable ecosystems. Similar to a minimum viable product, these ecosystems function as miniature versions of how the circular economy might work in the future. The insights gained from developing these experiments can provide crucial insight and lessons into how the whole system might eventually operate. And a great example of this has been Noorderwind's involvement in setting up the Circular Dredging Consortium. The Netherlands produces roughly 100 million cubic meters of dredged material every year. To tackle this, a Dutch startup called Waterweg spent 7 years developing paving stones made from this otherwise wasted sediment. But they hit a roadblock when they tried to scale. They lacked partners to secure the sediment at volume or sell the product in large quantities. With Noorderwind's help, Waterweg ended their solo R&D efforts and merged into a consortium of companies alongside dredgers, waterboards, contractors and municipalities. Another startup by the name of Blauwe Bagger provides expertise in separating the sludge for construction. The ambition of the consortium is that by 2030, 90% of dredge waste is reused. It's not just longer timelines and lack of growth potential that are holding startups back though. Low-tech, nature-based solutions often face the steepest funding gap. This is because they don't require extensive R&D or generate unique intellectual property or IP that can be easily patented. For instance, transforming municipal grass clippings into compost requires simply applying natural processes, making it straightforward for others to replicate. Great if you want to make impact, not so great if you want to make money.
If one investor would invest in this and he wouldn't get the financial return on investment if it's being copied, then it makes it a very uninteresting investment opportunity. But at the same time, it's an interesting impact opportunity because it's so easy to copy.
This emphasis on high-tech innovation over simpler, more practical solutions also surfaced in a conversation with Alex Klootwijk, founder of Slijpstof, a small design agency based in Rotterdam. Unlike the larger companies I've mentioned, Slijpstof operates on a much smaller local scale. What's interesting about their work is that they're particularly focused on the social side of the circular economy and the individual habitual changes required to make it a reality. And this is hugely relevant today as social innovation is something that's often overlooked, particularly in discussions around sustainability and the environment.
So the social consequences are definitely overlooked. And I think that we as a society try to focus more on the technical solutions, because I think it's also normal to do that, because then you can lay back a bit and say like, okay, technology will solve this for me, so someone else will do it. And if we progress and innovate enough, then this problem will go away. So we will solve climate change and we will solve the circular economy, and we can do all of those things with new tech. If you look at the data, the historic data, then tech always brings in new materials or new footprints, and there's no decoupling from, for example, innovation and the amount of material that's used. So what we say is, no, we do need tech and new innovations on some places, but not on all places.
Advocates like Jeff Mulgan have long championed this idea. I'd recommend you check out some of his books if you haven't already. This isn't to say that technological innovation isn't essential for positive change. Rather, I'd frame it that technology can only reach its full potential when it's matched by an equal commitment to social innovation. For instance, there's no point investing millions into renewables if energy consumption continues to increase at extreme rates. And rather than everyone switching to electric cars, we'd be better off putting more effort into incentivizing public transport or changing urban planning so that more goods and services are actually accessible within walking distance. So how does this fit into the circular economy? Circularity isn't just about turning waste into new products. It's also about how we can use less products and keep existing products in use for longer at their highest value. And a key way of achieving this is sharing. If you think about it, it's strange that in a single neighbourhood, each individual might have their own lawnmower, used only an hour every week or so. Think of the potential economic and resource savings that could be achieved if large possessions like these were shared amongst multiple households. Social networks are vital to make such systems work.
I have a drilling machine and I'm really happy if someone else uses it because I use it a lot, but not all of the time. So if someone else wants to use it, I'm really happy. But I will not give it to someone I don't know, I have never seen before. I will give it to someone who someone else knows. So if they say, I know this person and they want to rent it or they want to hire it, that's perfect. But if I don't know that person totally, then I will not lend something to someone else. The social part is also really important to make the shift from owning stuff to sharing stuff.
And so finding ways to create and support these social networks is just as important as how we design the products themselves. Slijpstof operates from a buurthuis or community centre called the Wijkpaleis. Amongst many other examples, it offers facilities like a public workshop and hosts communal dinners cooked by neighbourhood residents 3 nights a week. Using this ready-made social hub, Slijpstof launched a neighbourhood WhatsApp group where people can give away or share possessions. When residents lacked cars to collect bulky items, Slijpstof bought a transport cart and loaned it out for free via the centre's reception. Their WhatsApp exchange network has now spread to 8 Rotterdam neighbourhoods. It seems like a super obvious and simple solution, but somehow people still seem to lack the ideas, initiative, or confidence to set something like this up. I think some people are often quick to belittle initiatives at the local level as being too small to matter, and even the founders at Slijpstof are sometimes faced with these thoughts. It's hard to feel like you're making an impact when a 1-hour flight in a private jet emits as much carbon dioxide as the average person produces in a year. But Alex still finds faith in their approach.
In the Netherlands, you have Jan Rotmans.
Jan Rotmans is a professor of transitions and transition management at the University of Rotterdam. He argues that systemic change often starts with personal actions and choices. The changing norm around smoking, for example, wasn't a result of government intervention, but rather of a small minority who then influenced a larger majority that ultimately put pressure on the government to implement regulation. So far, this video has focused primarily on redesigning the systems around our products and services, arguably the biggest key to unlocking the circular economy. But product design itself strongly shapes environmental impact. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation estimates that 80% of a product's impact is set at the design stage. Alongside better systems, we need smarter design strategies. Design for disassembly is central to Slijpstof's ethos. They minimise the variety of materials used in a single product to simplify recycling, and when that's not possible, ensure products can be easily taken apart. Following the industry slogan, "Screws not glues," they prioritise easy repair and end-of-life separation and avoid finishes like paints that hinder recycling. Their first project, a visual installation showcasing the Sustainable Development Goals for the province of Overijssel, used reclaimed wood cubes joined with friction joints. When the cubes reach the end of their life, only wood remains. Working with existing waste streams also adds complexity. Designers must start with the materials at hand, asking what can we create with what we have instead of choosing the ideal material for a pre-planned product. For the bin, design freedom's often limited by partner capabilities, existing machines, molds, and recycling constraints. Because partners won't buy new equipment for an unproven idea, the final product's look and feel is largely set by available machinery. The bin's real influence lies in coordinating partners to create these workable circular solutions. We've covered many obstacles to a circular economy, but I just wanted to finish with two more: politics and scale. Policy is critical for change at the scale a circular economy needs, and all three companies in this video work closely with governments at all levels to set the right conditions. Take the problem Noord faces, for example, with the lack of investment in circular and sustainable startups. They're exploring lots of different investment models, including those where financial returns aren't the primary goal. An example of this is imposing fines on companies that fail to cover their social or ecological costs, with the revenue being redirected to small value-driven projects. Because these initiatives don't aim for high growth or big returns, redirecting money through fines rather than investment here makes sense. This would, however, require a major shift in the role of the government. The major difficulty with this system is that if one region, say the EU, imposes higher fines, companies might choose to move their operations to less regulated countries, a phenomenon known as carbon leakage. We're already seeing examples of this. Egypt, benefiting from government support and less strict environmental regulation, has rapidly expanded exports of energy-intensive goods such as cement, fertilizers, and chemicals, doubling exports from 2022 to 2024. At the same time, European production in these industries has fallen. Martijn highlights another barrier, which is scale.
Well, honestly, I think that people working in a circular economy right now are too much busy with circular and not enough with economy.
Like any businesses, circular firms must cut unit costs through scale, spreading fixed costs over more products to achieve lower prices. Yet many focus instead on perfecting circularity, leaving them with niche and expensive products.
Those people that are willing to pay 3 times as much for your circular chair, they were already going to be circular or sustainable in the first place. So you're not actually targeting a new target group.
To reach mainstream consumers then, circular products have to be cost competitive. Martijn argues that companies operating circular business models should aim for mass production from the very start.
The way I put it is more, if a chair would cost 50 euros, how much would we need to produce for us to be able to produce a chair for 50 euros? Probably we would need to produce 10,000 pieces. Then we know, okay, if we want to truly enter the market, we would need to be able to buy and sell 10,000 pieces. How does our production line look like together with all of the organizations together, that we can produce 10,000 pieces? Of course, we're still going to start with 100, but we know that we're making choices to get to that point.
Sure, leveling playing fields through instruments like carbon pricing can help, but without a path to mass production, circular goods remain a niche luxury. Martijn's framing is quite thought-provoking. Scaling up, a classic linear concept, may be the most crucial step to making the circular economy real. Hopefully you can see from this video that transitioning to a circular economy is a necessary but immensely difficult challenge to overcome. It's something that will be required at every level of society, from grassroots neighbourhood initiatives to national and international agreements and policy. But at least what Slijpstof, Noord and the bin are showing is that the movement's already underway. If you like this video, you might want to check out some of my others, like this one about how the city of Amsterdam plans to become the world's first circular city. As always, I'm Luke, and this was The Upshift.